It's Christmas season, and one of the most popular Christmas carols is Silent Night. However, I have heard so many boring Silent Nights. I have played a lot of boring Silent Nights. So if you are a church pianist who is wanting to do something much more interesting with Silent Night than just how it's written in the hymnal or just one basic pattern, this video is for you. Hi, I'm Amanda Taro, and I help church pianists to find more variety and style in their church playing. I personally spent years exploring how to make my left hand have more variety. I looked at hundreds of different arrangements. I tracked what I liked, what I didn't like, and I just did a lot of experimentation. However, I have broken it down and made it so much easier for you so you don't have to do that. I have two resources you can get. The first is a free download over 50 left-hand patterns. This has left-hand patterns in C major and in 2/4, 3/4, and 4/4 meter. However, if you need something much more robust, then you will want to get my 140 left-hand patterns. This features so many different patterns. I have left-hand patterns in 2/4, 3/4, 4/4, and also 6/8 and 9/8, which is really important for today's video. We're going to be looking at 6/8 for Silent Night. These patterns are also transposed into 8 different keys: the key of C major, G major, D major, A major, F major, B flat major, E flat major, and A flat major, which is also important because we need B flat major for Silent Night. So I will be using this book in today's tutorial to help you walk through how to do different patterns for Silent Night. What you're watching right now is my free video. I'm just going to go through 3 different patterns from my 140 left-hand patterns book. You want to see me experiment with all 35 6/8 B-flat patterns with Silent Night and talk you through which ones I think work and which ones I think don't work, and also just demonstrate how they fit together with Silent Night. You can also get that full tutorial. I will have a link in the description below where you can access that. Before we jump onto the piano, I just briefly want to talk about some of the first steps when you're learning to experiment with different patterns. The first step is to analyze what style are you going for. There's 2 main styles. There's a lot more styles than this, but it breaks down to 2 basic styles: fast and slow, or upbeat and calm and reflective. So that's where to start. Like I said, there's a lot in between, but we're just gonna do very basic for that. What often happens is you also have 2 main patterns. You have your fast pattern and your slow pattern. And then it's easy to get stuck in a rut to where if you're playing something slow, you play one pattern. And if you play something fast, you play another pattern. But there is so much more you can be doing. And that is what I want to show you today. A lot of what it takes to get to where you're confident with playing a lot of different styles in your church playing is just hands-on experimentation. And so I have a challenge for you. I want you to just try a bunch of different left-hand patterns for one particular piece. And while some of what you're going to try is totally not going to work, it's really going to train your ear, because part of learning left-hand patterns is being able to identify, does this pattern work? Will this pattern work? And the more you do it, the more it becomes second nature. So like me, whenever I'm sitting down and playing, I don't second guess myself and do like, oh, what style do I need to do? What pattern do I need to do? I automatically have probably 5 to 10 different patterns I just throw in there, and I know what will fit and what will not fit without playing through it first, just from years of experimenting. And I know you can get there too. But right now, I want you to ignore perfection, go back to being a student, and give yourself a lot of grace to mess up, to really puzzle through rhythms that might be tricky, or play something that you're like, oh, that sounds terrible, just to get the experience of what left-hand patterns fit with which hymns. Now, I did just tell you to experiment a lot, but just to pull it back a little bit and break it down if that's overwhelming, start with just one pattern and really master that before you move on. What I like to do is I have my students, say it's a 4-verse hymn. Silent Night has 4 verses. I like to tell my students, pick a different pattern for the first 3 verses, and then on the 4th verse, mix and match. What usually ends up happening, at least for me, is I never play one verse of a hymn with the exact same pattern the whole way through, because I just naturally mix and match them. But to start off with, you need to know the basic patterns before you can mix and match them. So start off with one pattern for verse 1, another pattern for verse 2, and another pattern for verse 3, and then mix and match it. That will give you a great foundation to get started, and from there you can do even more. Maybe you can say, okay, now I'm going to do 2 patterns for verse 1, 2 different patterns for verse 2, 2 different patterns for verse 3, and then try 6 patterns for verse 4. That might be a little bit much, but if you're in the learning process of this, I would encourage that. Now, you don't want to throw everything in the kitchen sink into everything, but when you're learning, it's not a bad idea just to experiment to see what you can do. Now, let's get on the piano and do some Silent Night. All right, so I am using Silent Night, Holy Night, and it is in B flat and also the 6/8 time signature. So I am getting my 140 left-hand patterns book, and you can look in the index, you can find 6/8, then you can look for B flat major. It's page 143, and we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pages of left-hand patterns that we can experiment with. Remember that the free over 50 left-hand patterns does not have 6/8, and it is only in C major. You can use some of the 3/4 pattern ideas and transpose them and also kind of change the meter a little bit. But if you want easy, 140 patterns. Before I start, I want to mention one thing. The second to last measure, that one. Okay, there's F on the bass. However, it is not an F chord. Please do not play an F chord there. So you can, it is a B flat chord, you can play a B flat pattern if you want to. Or what I will do is I will have F on the bass and have an inverted B flat pattern. And it's really easy to do because if it was an F pattern, you would be using F, A, C, an inverted pattern, change all your A's to B flat and all your C's to D. And then you've got your B flat inverted chord with F on the bottom. So just notice that if I'm playing something that's not quite the pattern that's given in the book, that's what I'm doing. I am altering it slightly to fit the inversion. Here is pattern 92. And here it is with the hymn. I will mention really quickly, if you don't like this low sound, you can always pull it up here higher. I personally like low, but if you'd rather it be here, you totally can do that. Pattern 93. So it's very similar to 92, but instead of repeating the root, I am going to the third. Pattern 94. for the last verse, I would mix all three of those patterns. So I'd mix this one with this one with this one. I am not doing it in any specific way or order. I'm literally mixing them up however I think about it. But if it helps, you could say, okay, I will use pattern 92 for the first measure, and pattern 93 for the second measure, and pattern 94 for the third measure. Or you could say, I will use pattern 92 for the B flat chord. And when it's the F chord, I will use pattern 94. And when it's an E flat chord, I will use pattern 93. It does not matter. I'm just going to mix it up just to kind of give you an example of what you could do mixing it up. I hope these 3 patterns were really helpful for you. As a reminder, you can get the free Over 50 Left-Hand Patterns download. Just remember, it does not have 6/8, and they are all in the key of C major. So if you need something to be very specific for the time signature and key signature you're working with, you will definitely want to get my 100 left-hand patterns. I will have linked to all of these, as well as if you want to see way more styles for Silent Night that you can work on, I will have all of these links in the description below that you can get. Be sure to check out my other tutorial videos here on YouTube. I have a full-length lesson on Amazing Grace, so that is one that is a top favorite. I also have some right hand variety videos, so just check out my tutorial videos. They're linked here, and I'm just so excited that you're investing in your music journey and learning more variety.